Most of our biggest deals we actually get through like Google search.
How do we take a business, like a lot of our clients that came to us with an idea, like one of our weight loss clients, he's like, hey, I have an idea to open up a clinic. Okay, cool, let's open it up. Now he's at 4 locations within 6 months. Six locations.
So a lot of time agency owners, and this is some stuff that nobody talks about, they live in a cocoon, bro. Like they charge their monthly fee or their percent of ad spend or whatever it may be, and they're like, that's it, that's their cap, they don't look further.
Welcome everyone to this edition of the Agency Domain. Today I have two very special guests. I have Amel and I have Christian. They have a very large agency here in Tampa. I wanted to bring them on to talk about their experience on the come up, scaling their team, personal barriers that they had to overcome, building a physical team with a physical office and what that actually looks like, and then kind of the process of their scaling journey. So just kind of to dive into it really quick, guys. First, thanks for coming. Really appreciate you guys coming.
Thank you for having us.
But take a couple minutes to kind of introduce yourselves and kind of let everyone know who you are.
Absolutely.
Mel, you can go first.
So my name is Amel Kilic. Came to the States 23 years ago from Bosnia. Considering that we came with nothing, it was literally me and my mom, who was a single mom. Mm-hmm. I knew that I wanted to truly take this opportunity to create something, because like we left everything. We didn't have like family here. We didn't have anything. So I'm like, okay, I'm here with nothing. So let's make something out of this, right? And considering the fact that a lot of foreigners push you down the medical route, mm-hmm. I was in school. I was on the path to med school, but as I was working in a hospital, I saw all these unhappy doctors. Uh-huh. I'm like, I'm going to keep on trying something until I can sustain my life without having to go to med school and without being a doctor. So that's when I started like all these like business ideas and just started creating businesses. A lot of them failed, but then obviously marketing took off. So
did you do something in the medical space too?
I mean, I do have a nursing like degree, uh-huh. and I was going to let that be my stepping stone. And I was still working at the hospital while I was, starting GenTech, and I quit during COVID time.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
And then Christian?
So obviously Christian Jamal. I'm 24 years old. I moved to the States about 7 years ago. Just like Amel said, the story of the foreign parent wanting you to be a doctor, lawyer, or engineer applies here. So I went to school. I was pre-med. I always wanted to be in the business space because that's what my dad did growing up. He was always selling something. And ever since the age of 14, I was always trying something. Like I wanted first to be like a YouTuber at the age of 14. Then I discovered what drop shipping was. You can say I was the star child of the shiny object syndrome, uh-huh. And then eventually when I found my domain in the agency space, I dove deep and I started to figure out one thing at a time until it finally clicked. And the agency was already doing well before I graduated from college. So I decided to put medicine aside and do that like full time and really scale it to the next level. And just to give the audience some context on us and kind of like the level of the agency we're at, currently between both of our companies, we're about 560,000 a month, 540 between those two numbers. So any valuable input that we want to give today, the whole goal is to add as much value as possible.
I love that, my man. Really appreciate that. And one of the things that stood out to me, obviously, you guys are both. I'm not an immigrant, but I've lived in foreign countries most of my life, and I know that when I talk to people that do come from immigrant parents, there is like this pressure of like you said, of like you need to become something great. That's why I brought you here, right. Type thing, right? And so how was it like breaking it to your parents of like, hey, I'm actually going to sell stuff on the internet. and they're like, what?
I mean, my thing is like, I was still working in the hospital until I kind of proved that I had something legit going.
Okay.
And obviously with my license, I was able to quit and still have it active for another year. Mm-hmm. And that was my like test, right? Can I make it happen within that year? And if I couldn't, I can always go back to what I was doing. That was kind of my theory. You can always go back to what you're doing. So that's why I kind of told my parents, I'm like, let me do this. And still to this day, like I pretty much shove it to my mom's face. I'm like, because she was always like, go to school, like have a degree. And then when I started making some money in like the nursing career, she's like, you can achieve that because you went to school, but it was like $4K a month, right?
Right.
And now when I buy something, I'm like, it's because I went to school. So
I love that.
She's happy with everything that I have right now.
That's good.
100%. For me, it was a different experience. For
Right.
me,
You dropped out, right?
I didn't drop out. I actually finished school.
Oh, okay.
Even though I started hiring people to do my homework and stuff like that.
Same.
But nevertheless, for me, it was a very negative experience because I just kept getting like beat down. You know what I'm saying? But like the people around me, my friends, even like my dad told me like I was gonna be a failure. Like this is not gonna work. You know, like I'm too young, too naive. It's not gonna pan out the way that you think it is. Just because he had seen me do all these other businesses and they had all failed.
Right.
But I was determined. I was like, I'm going to keep failing. I don't really care. Like, I'm going to keep failing because if I choose to live the life that is the current track that I'm on, I failed entirely already.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I might as well keep failing until something works.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. We want to start off with something a little bit controversial.
Mm-hmm.
My team found some humor in this question, but we noticed that in your bios that you guys both have CEO of GenTech, which is your agency.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, who is the actual like the bigger CEO, and what does that actually mean to you guys?
I think with CEOs, I think everyone has their own role within that title. We're part of BA, and one of the members they were talking about how there's like a clean fish and a dirty fish. And the clean fish is all about like operations and systems. The dirty fish is like, let's just dominate everything, let's take over. I think between us two, like I'm the clean fish, Christian's the dirty fish, but like those two like concepts have allowed us to like truly achieve everything that we have achieved. So I think both of us have like a portion of that title that just allows us to like function within that space.
100%. It's kind of like the yin and yang.
Right.
We have completely different skill sets. And I feel like the CEO's role is to kind of mold the vision and make sure that we keep moving forward. And when I do what I'm good at and when Amel does what he's good at, it's as if we combine and be like one ultimate CEO together.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. And then just as far as like your guys is coming in together with this agreement, how did that work out? Like, how did you guys even find each other?
Oh, funny story. I had an agency before GenTech, and it was my first kind of dabble into the agency space.
That was the one that you did during medical school?
I didn't go to medical school during
Your
my
education.
undergrad, correct. So yeah, I had that agency for about 6 months. At the time, I was like super broke because all my dropshipping efforts has failed, and I put all my ad spend on my own credit cards. So I had maxed out all of them, and genuinely, I remember to this day, like going to the gas station and my credit card not even going through at the gas pump because there was no money in my credit cards, no money in my debit card, and I was like, "Fuck, like, I gotta figure this out." Like now, my rent is like due, so I kept calling businesses nonstop. Until eventually one person said to me, and I quote this, I've said this on a previous podcast, this is literally word for word what the guy said. He said, "I spend $100,000 a month on Facebook. What do you know that I don't?" And I sat there, I was like, damn, that's a good ass question. What do I know that he doesn't? That's a good question. And eventually like I challenged him. So he was intrigued and he invited me over. Eventually I got that client, but I wasn't able to break past that one client barrier. So I was like, all these rich people keep talking about mentor, mentor, mentor. So I went on to hashtag Tampa Business on Instagram, and I started scrolling until I found like business owners. And then I scroll and I see this one dude sitting on a gold i8, which was my dream car at the time.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, this is dope. Let me check him out. So I go to his profile, and his bio said digital marketing. And I was like, fuck, bro. Like, what is he doing that I'm not? Because I'm hustling. So I DM'd him. I asked him to sit down with me for coffee, the old trick in the book, but he said yes, and eventually, like, we kind of clicked, and since COVID hit, we both went back down to 0 clients, so we were kind of back at the same level, more or less, and we decided to partner up. I feel like I learned a lot from Amel at the start, and I feel like we learn from each other every day now.
That's cool. I love that.
Would you say that's fairly accurate?
100%.
With digital marketing, it's digital, right? It's everywhere. But one of the things that I found unique about you guys is that you also are in person. Like all of your team is in person. So how has that dynamic been? especially like you guys mentioned that you were doing it during COVID. Like, how has that dynamic been building an in-person team? And I guess one of the things that I would ask is like, you're not necessarily able to leverage like cheaper labor from different countries. What does that look like?
That was our thing because we had people out in India and even Lebanon and so forth that were doing all our work for probably like $1,000. But then we saw that the quality wasn't there. We weren't able to tell them like, yo, what are you doing? Like if they're not like completing their tasks, we can't like overlook what they're doing on like day-to-day basis. So over time, we're like, okay, we need to hire someone local. So one job position opened up. We're like, okay, let's hire that. Another one opened up. Okay, let's hire that. And it is more expensive, but I think we are where we are today because everyone's in-house and the quality is a lot better than just hiring cheap labor. But I think the fact of everyone being local, we truly feel like a family. So if someone is slacking, the other person's like, yo, I'm not gonna hit my goal because you're slacking.
Yeah.
Right. And they can come up to them like in person. So there's a lot more of a benefit of people being local than just hiring cheaper labor in India.
Yeah, for sure.
They definitely each have their like pros and cons. Obviously, cheap labor can be good quality as well. But I do believe that when you have everybody local in one office, it does create a higher level of credibility as well. Like, for example, back in the day when we used to outsource some work, whenever the client would send me a screenshot saying, hey, someone logged into my thing from Lebanon or someone logged into my thing from India, I feel like it makes us lose trust and makes us able to charge less for our services, or that's at least how I felt. So now, since everything is in-house, a lot of people feel very comfortable to the fact that, oh, I can just drive to their office. We're like, yes, come to the office. It's like something that like not many people offer within the space, obviously, you know. So it adds a different level of trust. So we invest into our PR, we invest into our office, we invested into even making the office a nice space for the team to actually enjoy coming to work. And I just think that it's a good idea because it works for us.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of everything being digital.
Okay. And how has that affected you guys? Because I mean, one of the benefits, obviously, of a digital agency is like, I don't have an office that I need to ever go to. I don't have a team that I need to ever be in front of. I can be anywhere in the world. Like 2 years ago, I spent like 9 out of my 12 months traveling. And if you have an office, you lose that kind of freedom that maybe you're looking for as an entrepreneur. So how has that kind of affected you guys, or how have you seen like the benefits from that, I guess, of being able to go into a specific place?
I mean, I enjoy the office. I've worked from home. Not a fan of it. I've worked like while traveling. Sure, I can get my work done, but it's not the best work.
Right.
So even when I am traveling, like I love traveling. So even when I am traveling, after like a month or two, I miss my routine. Like I miss the food I eat. I miss my gym. Like I miss my office. I miss my people. And I think that's what keeps me sane. So the fact of even being frustrated with a client, I go to the office and we kind of share the same frustration.
Yeah.
We're like, all right, let's come together and figure out something. So to me, like it's not just about the money, it's really about the people.
Right.
And if I didn't have the office, I wouldn't have the people, I feel like.
Right. Yeah. It definitely gives you that better connection with your team as well too.
Yeah.
100%.
What about for you? What do you think the downfalls or benefits have been of having to go in person?
So I actually, like I said, I really enjoy going in person because sure, like there's the digital nomad lifestyle, but personally, when I'm on vacation, I don't want to work. I want to just enjoy. I want to enjoy a meal with my fiance. I want to be able to go to like wherever we're at, enjoy the water, enjoy the views, enjoy dinners. I don't want to be sitting down worried about, oh, I have a meeting at this time or I'm meeting the team. I think that if you work hard enough and you're passionate enough about what you do, then going to the office is always going to be a bonus. And then when you build a proper team, when you go on vacation, they're going to try their best to like not bother you at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense for sure. And then talking about your guys' kind of come up a little bit, describe to me a little bit how that process went of like, we aren't doing very good. COVID, we lost all our clients. Now we're starting to the point where we've scaled to 500 plus. How did that process go?
So I would say that at every level, we had to become a different company, right? So in our first office, in our WeWork office, right, we had on the whiteboard written, GenTech is a $10 million business, right? Do you recall that?
Yeah.
So
With the Lambo next to it.
yeah, with a little Lambo next to it. But what we wanted to do is become the company that looks like it's already there so that we can get there, right? I even describe that as a business owner, right? Like you're not going to make $1 million if you're not $1 million individual.
Right.
So as long as you're able to formulate a company that operates like it is already doing those numbers will never come to you. Because even if you can sell, and even if you are able to quote unquote sell and get to those levels, if your operations are not in order, if your actual results are not in order, like fulfillment not in order, eventually it's going to crumble. So it's kind of like an illusion that you make 30, 40, 50,000 a month. If your operations are trash, you're going to go back to 10,000, you're going to go back to 5,000 or whatever it may be. And that's why I think at every plateau, we had to become a different company. One thing that I recall, for example, $60,000 a month. That was a plateau that we stayed on for, I think, 6 to 8 months. And we're like, what is going on? We always close new business every single month, but because of the game of the churn and our price point, we always kept doing the same amount of numbers, even though we were working harder and we were doing everything right. We realized that, oh, we're just selling Facebook ads. We're just selling Instagram ads, right? Like it's a race to the bottom because someone can just undercut us by selling the same exact thing.
Right.
So what we learned at that level is how to create a unique mechanism. We were like, if we want to stand out, we need to create something that is unique to GenTech. So if you want this service, the only place you can get it is at GenTech.
Right.
And we created something called the scalable revenue ecosystem. We realized that even if we have 2 clients doing the exact same thing and they have the exact same spend and the exact same ad, one of them kills it and one of them may not do as well. So we were like, why? And then we started to dive deep into their systems. So we just built out the entire ecosystem that has the systems that work, and it's just plug and play. And within 3 months, we doubled our revenue. So we went from 60 to like 120. And that was the challenge that we had to learn at that level. And then at 120, it's a different challenge. What do you do then? So it's more so something like that.
And was that system something that you guys were kind of like doing without naming it, and then you just started naming it, and then people were like, oh, this is a cool system? Or was it something that you had to like invent and like, oh, this is something new that we need to introduce?
We had to systemize it. So we were utilizing parts of it, but we couldn't sell it as a package because we didn't really systemize it and like kind of package it up. So as soon as we came out with the full process, we had to like put a name behind it so that people are like, wait, what is a scalable revenue ecosystem, right? Because otherwise, if we say it's ads, it's a funnel, it's a landing page, it's a VSL, well, I can hire someone for ads, I can hire someone for VSL, but it doesn't work because like we have clients that have each of those, but it doesn't work, and it's because it's not packaged.
Yeah.
So that's when we decided that we need to have a name and then sell it as that name.
Yeah, I think it's a good power of branding, of adding a name to something that maybe you're doing already, and then people are just like, oh, that sounds super fancy. Let me try and get that for my business. That's definitely something that that's super smart. And what do you guys think are like some of the hardest walls that you hit? You mentioned the 60K wall, but on your come up, maybe it wasn't exactly glorious, but during that come up of getting past those each barriers, what were some of the hardest barriers that you guys hit?
So I would say that the biggest thing for me was misinformation. So a lot of stuff that you see online on YouTube or whatever it may be may have worked for that specific individual, but just utilizing strategies that worked for X person does not mean that they apply to you. And I had to learn that by failing forward and figuring out what works for me specifically, that's how I'll be able to grow. So for example, my sales structure, I would copy someone that is already doing sales at a high level. So for example, we'd find a Dan Locke video or a Jordan Belfort video, and we would just literally like write down what they said and when for what rebuttal, and we would spit out that same exact information. But based on their character, based on how they built rapport, it might have worked for them, but our style of sale was different. So for me, like I said before, in order for us to become the 6-figure-a-month agency, we had to become 6-figure-a-month individuals, and that's done through the skills that you have. So we started acquiring skills by failing forward.
I feel like a lot of these big people like preach theories, and with theories, like it's not proven to work.
Right.
And people will say, this is the exact funnel you need to like create. This is the exact like VSL structure. And we did all that and it never worked. And one thing that like I realized is find one thing and just drill it so hard that it becomes the thing. because a lot of times you'll create a VSL, you'll launch it for a month, it won't convert, and you'll try another one, then you try another one, then you try another one, which you always start at 0. I feel like even if you have one and you just improve it by 1%, over time it will grow to maybe 50%, 70%, 80% efficiency. So that was my biggest thing. Like, let's focus on one system, let's keep on improving that one system. And I think ultimately we became the system, and other people are replicating our system now.
Yeah. And Christian, one of the things that I noticed when I was creeping on your Instagram is that you have a video talking about failure and how you're happy when you fail and how failure is important to success. I mean, and a lot of people don't really understand that mentality of like, I need to fail in order to come forward, to move forward, and I need this to happen to me. Otherwise, I'm not happy, right? And because people think that, oh, I need to always be succeeding, or I need that positive feeling or whatever. And in my opinion, that's generally when you fall the most, is when you don't have any failure. So with that kind of like 1% mentality, what do you think helps set that for you?
I think that, like I mentioned before, I was very big into like the shiny object syndrome, where I would just like jump from one thing to another, and that never worked for me. And when it came to failure, it was because as soon as something would fail, I would jump to the next. As soon as something failed, I would jump to the next. And I think that's a trait of a novice business owner, a novice entrepreneur, someone that is simply soft, for no better term, because it shows that they have no experience, right? Failure is good because that tells me I'm one step closer, one no away from the yes, right?
Yeah.
Like always after that mentality. Because when I keep failing, I eventually become numb to the failure, that it becomes easy. Because if it's worth it, it's not going to come without failure. It's not going to come without the setbacks. It's not going to come without any drawbacks. And that's the thing, is novice business owners, they just want the prize. They just want a little trophy for participating. When there is no trophy for participating, it's the real world. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoever's going to do a better job than you is going to take your client. It's that simple. So that's how I started to love failure. Because even one time, a mentor of mine said that, oh, this happened. I was like, oh, that sucks. He's like, no, I don't really care. I'm numb to the failure. And that resonated with me. So now whenever my team comes to my office and they say, this is bad, this is what happened with this client, I say, good, figure it out.
Yeah.
Good, let's go fix this. You know, so because there's always a solution, no matter how bad a situation can be, there's always going to be a solution. And just being numb to that failure gets you back up faster. Because if you want to sit down, take a step back, and be quote unquote a soft business owner, then things are just going to take too long to get done.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. Once you get numb to that, then it's more of like a, what can I do to be better? And you see that as a window of opportunity rather than like a window of, oh no, I've failed. Amel, one of the posts that you had put on your Instagram was talking about like the sales process, and obviously you guys are in a very technical space, even sometimes medical, even sometimes insurance, and you have to know like the lingo. Otherwise they'll ask you questions, and you'll be like, huh? And then they're just like, oh, okay, so you have no idea, so how are you going to help me? Right. So in the sales process, Amel, which part do you think is more important? Like, obviously with your background too, it helps, and your background as well. But which do you think is more important? Actually, like displaying the results to them, and which one do you think has more impact? Displaying the results to them, or being able to speak their language?
In our last sales training, I was talking about like reading the room, and you need to know who you're speaking to. Some of the leads, prospects that we speak to, they just want to like hear the lingo. Like they want to know that you understand them, you understand their problems, and you resonate with that individual. Other people just care about the numbers. So you got to showcase the results. They care about CPM. They care about like everything else. So if I get too technical with one person that doesn't care about all the numbers, I'll lose them. If I just bring the emotional side to a technical guy, I'll lose them. So being able to read the room and understand who you're speaking with and adjust your sales script according to their reactions is the most important part. And my biggest recommendation for like new salespeople is just slowing down and not using a script and be human. So when you're speaking, like sales is not that hard. Like we use the same strategy. It's like if you're speaking and someone's nodding, okay, you have their interest. If you're speaking and they're kind of just like confused, switch your script, you know?
Yeah.
Like lingo is just strategy. Like I'm not gonna speak French to you because you don't understand French.
Right.
Right. So read the room and speak the lingo of the person that you're speaking to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you do speak French.
Unless they do speak French, then
speak
they're like,
French,
oh,
I know.
you're. No, yeah, I think that's incredibly important because I think the fact of the matter is, I mean, people think that sales is just like sometimes like driving something into someone, like you need this no matter what. I don't care what's going on in your life, you just need this. When more often than not, like on a sales call, you should be listening to someone and asking them questions rather than talking, because you need to figure out who they are. Because even though and I say this all the time, everyone that's listening has heard this a million times, even though as marketers, we know that the solution for our clients is always ABC. Like when you guys sign on a client, you always have your checklist of the same thing that you do every single time. But when you're selling to someone, you have to sell it to them as if they're a unique person with a unique problem, because for some reason, that's what people think. They think I'm unique, I have a unique problem, and I need you guys to help me with this unique problem.
Especially with high ticket sales.
Oh, for sure.
Business owners aren't dumb, right? So they know when you're just pitching them. They know when you're using like a hard sale. If you're buying a car that's like $2,000, they don't care about sales. Like they just want the car, right?
Right.
But when it comes to high ticket sales, they're buying into the individual more than like just a company.
Right. Yeah. And even if it's just a sales representative, like they're trusting that person as well with it.
When it comes to the sales, I feel like a lot of people, they get it wrong because they either try to actually sell, which is wrong right away,
Right.
or they try to help, which makes them like very weak at times. I think that as long as you showcase what you have and you do a good enough job before asking for the close, then there should be no helping or sales needed. There should be, this is what we offer. If you feel like you're the right fit, then this is what we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And Christian, back to you. Another one of the things that we notice is, or one of the things that you tell often is that it took a while to make your first million, but then once you actually made it, it only took you 3 months to make your second million, right?
Correct.
And I think that's an important thing to know, is because money in the end is a skill that you learn, and it's not just something that like, oh, I got lucky and I got it. Like it's a skill that you learn in becoming a millionaire in order to earn that million. Like you have to be the $1 million man first, like you were saying. So what was kind of the process for you, and how did you become that person for maybe people that kind of feel like they're stuck, like they're like, man, I just can't do it. I've been working for years and I haven't been able to get to that point where I've earned my million. What is it that you've noticed that like was maybe like a turning point for you of like, this is what made me that person that was able to make that money?
100%. So when it comes to business, I think that even though you learn your lessons and you improve on what you've done in the past, a lot of times there is still certain things that I would quote unquote call as like bad habits that may still be part of your business just because it was built that way from the ground up. So after we hit our first million, we registered a new company that is hyper-focused on this one niche. And within the first 3 months, we set it up for it to have all the knowledge and software and experience and everything needed for it to make $1 million without the things that stop it from growing as fast. And that's how we actually got it done, is remove all the bad, use all the good. And at that time, we also had funds to play with. So we were able to add fuel to the fire. And that's how we were able to make $1 million in the first 3 months with a brand new business from zero.
And how was important, I'll ask you this too, Amel, how important is your mindset and your personal development, and how did it switch when you took that jump from like, oh, okay, we're making some good money that makes a good living, to dang, now we're a huge company?
Yeah.
I think the shift happens when you stop taking personal. Like a lot of the like failures were personal. Like they're like, shit, I suck. Like I suck at sales, I suck at this, I suck at that. But then you realize you don't suck. It's just like it's part of the process, right? So going from 1 to, whatever we are right now, it's just understanding that it's part of the game. Like I always like say, just shoot the basketball because it's gonna start going in. If you're scared to shoot and you just shoot one and you wait for it to be perfect, you'll make one. But like I'd rather shoot 1,000 and maybe get 200, which is 20% success rate versus 100. But that's my thing. Like as you scale, you don't care. You're like, I'm gonna shoot. I'm gonna keep on shooting. I'm gonna keep on winning. And people see the wins more than they see the failures. And after I realized that, I'm like, who cares about the failures then?
100%. I mean, we've had probably 100x more failures than wins, but we're not here for failures.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm a big fan of cars, and I always look at that question as like a car. It's like, depending how your vehicle is built, there is certain things that can be done or certain things that cannot be done, right? No matter how much you press the pedal, there are some cars that will never hit 200 miles an hour, right? But if you build your vehicle correctly from the start, it's well oiled, you've got brand new tires, you've got a strong engine, and you can go fast right away. And that's why I think that the way the second business was structured is correct, because we built the vehicle right from the beginning. We didn't buy a broken down car and change one part at a time. We simply went into a vehicle that is already race worthy.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And for someone that's maybe stuck and just hasn't been able to do that, what would be like your number one recommendation for them?
Write down your failures, write down your mistakes, and keep improving by 1%. I believe business is a triangle. It's operations, sales, and marketing. Write your weaknesses for all three, write your strengths for all three, and stop focusing on your strengths. Start focusing on your weaknesses.
My thing is shoot the ball.
Yeah, just keep shooting.
Just shoot the ball, because like the people that I met is because I said yes to a lot of things, right? Do you want to go out? Yes. Do you want to sign up to this like event? Yes. Do you want to speak? Yes. So within all that, like I met some people, sometimes I spoke and it was the wrong audience. It is what it is. But even the fact that we're here today is because I said yes to one guy that asked me to be part of their mentorship, right? So just shoot the basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. So stepping away a little bit more from like your story and theory, I'd like to jump into a bit more sauce and a bit more technicals for the people that are actually in this space. So we have people that are doing lead gen as well, whether it's for local businesses or for national businesses or for whatever. What are the things that your offer needs to have? Like we talk a lot about like including guarantees, this, that, and whatever. And you guys talked about developing your offer. What does an offer need to have if they're starting it from, the ground up?
I think offers, obviously, they are super important, but I don't think they are the most important thing. I think that if you do good business and you structure your business to actually provide value and have case studies and testimonials, you'll be able to grow. Now, the fundamentals of an offer, I'm not a big fan of guarantees because that shows that you're trying to prove yourself. In my opinion, obviously it works for some people, but the fundamentals, I think as long as you have a deliverable and a short time frame for them to get the result that they desire, then you should be able to be successful with it if you have the case studies and testimonials to back it up. Everybody online is like, I have the best strategy. I have the best strategy. Bro, you have 200 followers and 0 testimonials. I don't trust you. You know what I'm saying? So as long as someone has the proof to back it up, then they will be able to do that. And if you don't have the proof to back it up, rather than scamming someone and trying to make a case study out of them, maybe partner up with someone who's already legit, use that sauce, and then make your own case studies off of their own sauce. So,
what do you think, Amel? What do you think the most important thing is for building a lead gen offer?
Personally, like, to me, it's not the offer. Like Christian said, it's really the confidence. A lot of the offers or things that the client's looking for, I'll use in the sales process. So a lot of times when a client's like kind of iffy, I won't like bring the offer up front. It's more of like, all right, what do we need to work together? And if you need that little piece, I'll give it to you. But if you just give the offer up front, you're going to get a lot of people that are just coming to you because of the offer.
Right.
You're going to get the low quality people that are just there for the guarantee. So my thing is like a lot of our sales calls where people are like, you guys are confident. Like people sign up because they're like, damn, you guys are confident like in your process. I'm like, yeah, we are. And they're like, we like that. Because a lot of business owners just see themselves in us, so I don't think you need an offer. I think you need confidence, you need credibility, and you need to know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
one thing to think about as well is in our personal experience, every single service that we paid for that had a guarantee was some of the worst service I've ever seen. And almost 100% of the time, we qualify for that guarantee because their service sucks. So they're hoping on that 10, 20, 30% that does not fit that criteria for them to make their revenue. So their numbers on paper look incredible, right? Oh, I'm making $600,000 a month, $700,000 a month. Yeah, bro, show me those $300,000, $400,000 in refunds. You know what I mean? So, and that's if they give the refunds. A lot of times their contracts have terrible lingo in order for them to be able to escape giving you refunds and stuff like that. So I think it's a scammy business. I think all these people that are doing this will eventually be out of business because enough times they're going to do business and those people are going to see their ads again. They're going to give them all that negative social proof in the comments and it's going to be game over for those individuals. So I don't care if they're making $1 million, $2 million, $5 million a month. Eventually those people are going to be making $0 a month because nobody's going to trust them. So as long as you do good business, you don't need a guarantee. If you do good quality work, people are going to come want to work with you, for your work, and not because their outcome is as successfully possible as they can get it, you know? So it's not about the guarantee. It's about the track record. It's about the case studies. It's about your client experience, right? It's not like hustle, hustle, hustle when a client wants to cancel just to try to keep them on or trying to keep them from getting a refund because that business model is structured for failure.
Would you agree that if you had a combination of a guarantee with tons of case studies, would that be beneficial?
Absolutely. But I think if you have tons of case studies, then you don't technically need it. But if you want to get more leads through the pipeline, then that would definitely potentially increase your click-through rate. But it can also potentially lower the quality of the lead.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's like a lot of these people are looking for guarantees, don't trust themselves. So they're like, how do I know this is going to work? But really they're asking themselves, like, am I going to be able to succeed in this process? Like, even with marketing, we can bring in high quality leads, but it's on you to close them. Like, we're not going to close them for you. So they're like, am I going to be able to close these people? So truly, like, when people ask for a guarantee, like, I try to find out, like, what are they looking for exactly? And most of the time you can use math to overrule their thought process, because when you break down their LTV and their like investment, and I realize that maybe just even one client will make their money back, then they're like, okay, I get it. So worst case scenario, like, I'll at least make my money back.
Yeah.
So I think just people are like, don't see the clear vision of like, how do I make my money back from this investment?
Yeah, that makes sense. And then stepping more into like the process and what you guys offer, what is it that you exactly do and what clients do you serve?
So high ticket products or services. Any business model that requires lead gen for a high ticket sale, we're able to implement our process to just feed them like quality leads. A lot of our systems disqualify leads so that they're not wasting time calling these people that aren't qualified. So anything that's high ticket, we can scale because we focus on scalability. We can make someone 10K, 12K, and then they might be capped. That's no fun for us, right? Maybe we can like change someone's life because obviously going from 4 to 10K as a small business owner, but what then? Usually they stop using marketing because they're like, well, I'm booked out. I don't need you guys no more. Or things like, how do we take a business, like a lot of our clients that came to us with an idea, like one of our weight loss clients, he's like, hey, I have an idea to open up a clinic. Okay, cool. Let's open it up. Now he's at 4 locations within 6 months. 6 months? Six locations. So that's a fun thing, right?
Yeah.
So anyone that has like something that we can scale is high ticket, at least $500, you know, in LTV, we can help them.
Yeah. And then Christian, one of the things we were talking about off camera is that what you guys do a lot with some of your clients too, is figure out how there's more opportunities to create business with them, right? Like some would call it like increasing the LTV of that client, but I think it even goes more than that because you guys even mentioned that you also partner with some of your clients on projects. Walk me through what that looks like.
Correct. So a lot of time agency owners, and this is some stuff that nobody talks about, they live in a cocoon, bro. Like they charge their monthly fee or their percent of ad spend or whatever it may be, and they're like, that's it, that's their cap. They don't look further. And that right there, sure, it can be $1 million business. Sure, it can be a $10 million business, but it's fairly hard to get it to a 9-figure business, right? I mean, sure, there's marketing companies that are at those numbers, but it's very, very rare and very, very difficult to get it to that if you don't think bigger, if you don't actually change an industry. So if you notice you have a client that is actually doing like some damage within their space and you can restructure the things that you're not touching, so such as their sales and operations, if you can adjust those in order for their business to go to a whole different level, being an equity partner or something like that can potentially change your life as well. In our situation, we noticed one of our clients was absolutely killing it, but we noticed so many error in the way that the business is actually run.
Yeah.
And using technology that we know how to use, we could automate all of this without the need for human error. So we literally just did that, and their entire business was streamlined. The monthly rev just multiplied by 4, and we have one person doing support because the system is so good that we don't need more than one person.
Right.
So being able to bring that knowledge to the table and partnering up with someone is an option that not many people talk about. And I think it should be explored, because at the end of the day, if your goal is just after the fee, you're chasing the carrot.
Yeah, 100%. And how are you able to kind of identify those golden nuggets or those people?
I think the benefit of having a marketing company is that so many companies go through, your hands, that you can pick up on the industries and models that do well. Because, for example, the weight loss guy, I never thought about it, but I'm like, well, he's crushing it. Is there a possibility for us to join that? I'm not saying we will, but like we see these like people go through our company and they're scaling, and we're like, okay, that's a good business model. So if someone's already scaling and then we're able to see like one of their competitors doing something that this guy isn't, we're like, well, can we use that knowledge and maybe partner up with this one and scale, together? So I think we have a lot more knowledge as marketing companies than people understand, and a lot of data that we can really be utilizing.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely a lot of people don't utilize. And it's hard too when you have like big teams and lots of systems to be able to like catch those outliers too. So with having, how many employees do you guys have?
12 right now.
Okay, so with having so many different like account managers and people managing, like, do they come to you with like, oh, this is a golden nugget, this is a good client, or do you guys have some kind of system in place to be able to identify like when it's setting off an alarm, like this is one we should check out?
So we have internal meetings, and we track KPIs on our clients on a weekly basis, and we notice the trends based on the time. Right? Like, so for example, let's say a client like has like a week where they have a slower number of leads, or like a lower number of leads, slower generation of them or whatever. We can go back to that timeline and notice, okay, very interesting. On the third week of every month, they have a higher cost per lead. So why don't we just put more budget into week 1, 2, and 4 and just drop the costs or drop the spend for week 3? So when we are able to even identify something like this, we're able to see the businesses that are always hitting KPI over a long period of time. Because that's the thing, is if a business does good for 1 month, that doesn't mean it's a good business to get into. Because at the end of the day, you're taking the partnership to a whole different level. And at that point, it's no longer the relationship of a agency to client. It's a relationship of a partner to partner, which, do you even want to partner with this person? Do they come with a lot of baggage? Like, who is this person as an individual? Do they have integrity? Are they a good person? Are they gonna stab you in the back? There's a lot that goes into it, but it's definitely like the next level, what I would say, to kind of elevate, because now you no longer just have an agency. You can take your agency and make it a scouting business where you basically are in the trenches of every business, and that allows you to deploy cash or deploy team members or deploy knowledge into industries that you can systemize and scale without you needing to actually invest a ton of your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And we also see industries that we shouldn't be going into.
Yeah. That gives
Just
you
like Amazon FBA and like all those, like a lot of clients were crushing it, but then we saw a lot of clients unfortunately not do so well. So, you see these things on IG where, they're like, we're making millions off of drop shipping, we're making millions off of Amazon FBA. And then you find out true numbers because you work with them and you're like, damn, that's the truth. Like, you weren't even making money. Like, okay, you're making $1 million off drop shipping, but you're probably spending like $900,000 in ads.
Yeah.
So you truly find out the truth as well when it comes to like all these businesses that you see like online.
Yeah, 100%. And then breaking down like your guys' actual strategy for your clients, getting as specific as you guys would like to. What's different about how you guys do it, and what's the structure that you build out for your clients?
100%. So what we do, even though it's a strategy that we follow, that we can make it as proprietary to us as possible, realistically, anybody can do it, right? Realistically, anybody can follow the steps step by step and copy the strategy, right? So when it comes on the operations and backend, we want the copy, primarily the whole objective of the backend and the VSL and all that stuff is for the copy and the emails to match what is said on the front end on the ad, because we want to keep a congruent experience. Even in the meeting, we want to use similar lingo in order for it to be just like one seamless experience. And then on the ad side of things, we don't like vertical scaling at all. We like more so horizontal with small micro budgets. So if someone is spending $5,000 a day, split that into $50. How many $50 can you spend for spending $5,000 a day? And doing that over and over and over again, and refiltering new content into the ads very, very aggressively. And in a way, we don't really do CBOs. It's mostly ABOs. Obviously, that's based on the client. We see more success with ABOs, and we do just a bunch of them and a bunch of replicas of the same ad. So, for example, one campaign, maybe even 100 ad sets, and maybe 3 ads in each ad set. And even though the 3 ads in each ad set are the same exact ad that are in all the other ad sets, and then all the ad sets can even be all the same as well. So just like putting micro budgets everywhere, because we notice typically with Facebook, when you start a campaign at a lower budget, it tends to want to give you a little bit of a better result in order to earn your business so that you can spend more.
Right.
And we notice every time you scale vertically, it goes back to shit.
Right.
So when we started doing it this way, we started seeing like, oh wow, like we are maintaining this insanely good cost per lead, even though we're spending 5, 6, 10, 20,000 a day. It's still the same CPL as when we're spending $50 a day.
Right.
That's interesting. So we started to replicate that on different niches, different industries, and different ad accounts, and the results were more or less congruent. So we noticed as long as you set it up like this, you focus on lookalikes as much as possible, and then you put as many ads, new ads into the rotation as you can, that's when you really see the success.
Very cool. And what? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, to spin off that, I want to talk about more of the operations of our team, which equates to like the results, because a lot of people think that the sale of a new client is done when they pay, but the sale is done when the client receives the like results.
Right, 100%.
And I tried to change my whole team's like mindset, where it's like, okay, we run ads, but the reason the client's here is because they need to hit the result. So there's probably like 8 steps between just a lead that never like saw that company before until they become a client. So sure, you have the ads, but then you have the funnel, you have the CRM, you have the salesperson, you have their operations. And if any of that is not systemized, they're not going to convert. And if they don't convert, they come back to us and say, hey, I'm not getting results. So the fact of us being able to look at the numbers and have the data and say, okay, this is where the drop off is. What are you guys doing to fix it? Right? Because a lot of times we're coaching them even on sales. That's not our job, but like we're media buyers. But it's like, let me see your sales process. Let me see your sales script. And we're like, dude, how do you close anyone with this, right?
Right.
So sometimes we like rewrite the whole sales script. And I think that allows our clients to really see results, because we don't just look at the ads. We see what a drop off is. We are very numbers like focused. We're not emotional like decision makers. And we tell our clients, hey, this is where you guys are slacking. This is where you guys need to fix. And that, I think that's what really separates us from other like companies.
And how difficult is it? Because obviously I've heard this a million times, but like clients come back to you, they're like, oh, the leads are terrible. And then you actually look through their work and they're like, you called them a week after the lead came through. Or, oh, these leads are all trash. And then they're like, did you ever contact them? Yeah, I sent them a text message.
So,
and it's just like how do excuse me. How do you guys combat that?
So what we did when it comes to this is we noticed that no matter how you slice it, certain people are just operating that way. They're just going to blame everything on the marketing company. So that's why we're very selective with who we onboard as a client. We make sure to set very, 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 very specific boundaries before a client processes any sort of invoice or anything, because once they feel like you owe them something. So I wouldn't even want to collect payment on someone that I know is going to be a bad partner in the future. So we set boundaries on the sales call. We set boundaries on the onboarding. Another example to someone not calling the leads is someone also tweaking the ads, going and changing the copy by themselves, right? Like that's another boundary we set. We set boundaries in our weekly calls. We just remind them of these things. So at the end of the day, it's never going to be 100%. There's always going to be people that honestly, point blank, lie to you on like the sales call or the onboarding call or whatever, and then you realize that they claimed that they were going to call the leads, and then they passed down the leads to their niece or nephew. And we built out an entire email and SMS sequence, or like a first message, and that they're not sending it or not following the structure. And the thing is that since we meet with our clients very frequently, we're very invested into their business. We go through their leads, we go through their SMSs, we go through their Facebook Messenger, and actually see the success of our own scripts, so that if it isn't working, we'd send them another one, right? And a lot of times if they're not using it, then we can highlight that, because a lot of times we showcase that it is a partnership. For this to work, sure, we can generate you leads. We generate leads for hundreds of businesses. The question is, are you going to contact these leads the right way? Because there are some people that you'll give them 10 terrible leads and they'll manage to get a deal, and someone you'll give them 1,000 good leads and they won't close any. So like, what's the catch? The catch is, do you want it bad enough?
Right.
So
Yeah, I think the expectations are super important whenever you get on a client, and calling out the clients too, because sooner or later they're going to call you out because they're not receiving results.
Right.
So it's better to say, hey, you guys aren't calling these leads. What's going on? We agreed that you guys will be contacting them, you know. And I think it's important for any marketing or media buyer to have access to their CRM or like a spreadsheet where they can just look over the leads. And if they're not converting, you say, hey, just so you know, we had an agreement, like we can manage the ads, but we can't close with them, you know? So expectations and having the back end information is very important for any marketing company. Otherwise, you're gonna have like bad results, and then you're gonna look like you don't know what you're doing, which isn't like the truth.
Yeah, and I think that anyone that has read like maybe even like any kind of Hormozy book or any kind of marketing book, they just think automatically in their mind like, okay, well, if this is my downfall of like they're not qualifying, they're not following up with the leads, they're not doing this, then that means that I just need to build out the whole system. What's the reason that you guys haven't gone to like, and I ask you this because I also kind of know the reason, but what's the reason that you guys have decided like, hey, we're not going to build out a full like sales team for the client. We're not doing like a done for you service. We're doing just the lead gen.
I mean, with all due respect to the client, like if I wanted to build out their whole business, I'll just go build one for myself.
Just create the whole business yourself.
So, I mean, the truth of the matter is what you're doing is you're providing a service. If you keep improving your service, you'll eventually become elite at that service. But at the end of the day, they're business owners, they're grown-ups. You know what I'm saying? Your job is not to babysit them. If they're not going to call the leads, they're not going to grow their business. It's that simple. So we can do the best job possible to vet people before they become clients. But once they become clients, a lot of times if someone is not calling the leads or whatever, we simply will ask them to part ways. We'll give them access to all their stuff, all their assets. Because the thing is that usually those are also the clients that are going to be trying to negotiate discounts, prices, clients that will not be giving you testimonial videos, clients that are simply toxic clients. So cutting out people like that, even if they are quote unquote paying you, that money's not clean. So it's usually better to help people who actually want your help and actually want to see you succeed back just as much as you want them to succeed.
Yeah.
Because my thing with that is like, where's the stop as well? Because sure, we can generate the leads, we can close them, but then you might also need help with operations, right? And then you also might need help with customer service. So at what stage do we stop doing like everything for them?
Yeah.
And I think sales is like a fine line where a lot of your clients' expectations are, you know, spoken about within the sales process. So if I'm not in the business as a salesperson, I'll just do whatever I can to close the deal and then pass it on to you.
Right.
You know, so I don't think having like a third-party sales company is smart for any business owner. So I know it works, but preferably like my thing is like try to find like your own salespeople that are in-house that you can like manage and control. Because even my own salespeople, sometimes they're like, I just want to close the deal. I'm like, you close someone that didn't have clear expectations. And a month later, they're going to come back to me and say, hey, you guys promised me this. So I think it's very important to know exactly what the sales person is like saying in the sales process. And we don't want to do that for our clients.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Then one of the last things that I wanted to touch on is the actual like growth of your agency, because in order to grow your agency, you need to get clients. So what's your guys' primary source for your own leads and your own clients?
So we do run a lot of ads, which generates a lot of leads for us. We find that using certain strategies to multiply your client base from what you already have through referrals and programs such as that works really well. A lot of agencies never reach out to their own clients for more clients, which I think is a free way to double your business. If every client can get you one, you just doubled your business. And then also doing really good on SEO. I think that this is something that's extremely slept on. Most of our biggest deals we actually get through like Google search, like not Google ads, Google like organic search. And it's because people have done their due diligence. When you look up best marketing company in Tampa, we rank as #1 because it is built that way. It's built like a corporate style business with like a touch of a local business where you get to speak with the owner. You get to walk into the office, but it has the corporate level of service, but also on the other side, you also get the speed of a local business. So we're not going to take one week to change your ads. Someone on a sales call like 2 days ago said something along the lines of, yeah, the current company I'm working with, and I'm not going to say any names, they need 1 week to change my ad copy. I said, 1 week? That takes 1 second. You know what I mean? Like, so that part has helped us tremendously, especially earning the Google reviews, all these things, which is stuff that very few marketing courses or whatever online actually teach, is actually becoming a real company. They just want a laptop lifestyle, no Google My Business. Some people don't even have a website. I'm like, what? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, are you trying to build a legitimate business that you are going to exit one day, or are you just trying to make some quick cash?
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, as long as you decide, do your thing. You know, if you're trying to exit, then build a real business. If you want some quick cash, then I don't really know how to advise past that.
Invest in crypto.
Yeah, invest in crypto.
Dropship.
I think it's important to also always be selling, right? We know ABC, like always be closing, but like always be selling like your services. A lot of people walk around and they won't like mention their business. They won't mention what they do. They'll like always like bring up the high end stuff. Like this is who I am. Like I drive this car, I drive that. Like I'm still a marketer, right? When you think about marketing, you better think about me because I'm going to bring that up every single day. And I think you should always walk around and tell people like, hey, I own a marketing company, right? If my Gold I8, like it was a way for me to tell everyone like, hey, I'm here in Tampa. You're going to see me. You're going to know about me, right? Because that's how I get my connections. So SEO, paid ads, everything, like whatever you can do to sell, do it. We do a lot of DM campaigns. Like we like do DM outreach. We have someone in-house that literally just DMs all day, every day. And we're asking for people to know, like we're telling people like, hey, we do marketing. And a lot of our clients honestly come from like the DM like outreach. So don't be shy of who you are and what you do, and don't be afraid to ask. When you get bigger, people don't want to seem like they're always like asking and still looking for business, but I don't care, right? Like you look at Grant Cardone, he's still like, click the link, right?
Right.
No matter what, on his story, if it's Christmas, Thanksgiving, he's like, click the link.
Yeah.
He's always selling. He's always got a 10X shirt. He's always got a 10X hat. Like, you're going to know that he's selling his services. And he is who he is today because he's not afraid of like being that person. So my thing is like, keep on shooting. When I say like shooting, keep on like asking, hey, do you need marketing? Hey, do you need marketing? Because my thing is like, at any given time of the day, right now, someone is signing up for a marketing service with another marketing company.
Yeah.
Why are they not signing up with us? Because I didn't catch that person. Why did I not catch him? Because I'm not trying hard enough. Right? Even though like we're hustling, I feel like we're still slacking.
Yeah.
And you can never be pushy enough. Let people know like who you are, what you do, and keep on asking.
Hell yeah, bro. I mean, one thing that also I notice is that people are, like I said before, so soft, dude. Like sometimes I get messages in my DMs. They're like, hey, I'm an appointment setter. Do you have a position for me? And then they never message me again. I'm like, you failed the interview, my boy. You know, like you said you're an appointment setter and you sent me one message. What? We actually closed a client last week that said, I was about to block you, but I decided to actually book an appointment. And they actually moved forward. Because, bro, if I find a business that I like and I'm like, hey, this is a dope business, let's make sure to speak to them, bro, I'll send them messages until they block me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. Because it's that simple, right? Like, Are you gonna keep trying, keep shooting the ball, or are you gonna give up because they didn't answer? Boo-hoo. You know they saw the message. You know what I'm saying? So keep trying. Again, like if you whether a business owner didn't answer, left you on red, they didn't respond to 5, 10, 20 messages. I don't care, bro. We keep messaging. If you see value in that person becoming a valuable client to you, keep trying. Because eventually they're gonna literally set an appointment with you just to be like, bro, what is this about? Like you're
Get off my
bombarding me.
back. Yeah.
Literally. And I get blocked by companies all the time. But honestly, I don't really care because eventually they're gonna hear about someone that they know that's doing the same business, that's working with us, that's getting results, and then it's gonna kind of hit them in the face.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm not here to make them feel that way.
Right.
I'm here to grow my business. If you want to block me, sure. If you don't want, I mean, if they block me, then they definitely know about me. So I'm cool with that.
Then they've seen your name before.
Just like from a marketing standpoint as well, I always talk about how like people have certain things that they're looking for, or they have a certain way of communication. So if you cold call, maybe they don't answer, right? Like I'm not a big caller, like on my phone. But if you text me, I'll answer, right?
Yeah.
Some people like DMs. Some people like letters. Some people like ads. You know, so you have to figure out what are your leads. Like create like 100 like lead, like create like a list of 100 like leads that you want to target, and try to use every method of communication to get in contact with that person. Because I have a good like friend who also has like a marketing company locally. He just uses LinkedIn. So if you want to get a hold of him, you gotta send him a LinkedIn message. I never use LinkedIn, right? So if I met him somewhere else, but if I was trying to get a hold of him and never sent him a LinkedIn message, he wouldn't like reach out back to me, you know? So even our DM campaigns, like we'll send out 6 different messages with different like copy, right? One's like direct approach, one's a case study, one's a testimonial, one's like a follow-up, one's a friendly like outreach. And sometimes like we send out like 5 and the 6th one converts because maybe it is a case study. Mm-hmm. Maybe it is that testimonial. Maybe it is our personal video that person was waiting for. So don't expect for someone to convert right away, because more than likely you're not talking to them in the way that they want to be spoken to, you know?
Yeah.
So just shoot everything that you have at him, and one thing will click.
Yeah.
And also one thing that is actually Amel's idea, so I'm going to give him credit for that, is reaching out in very creative fashion. So there is a client that we spoke to that did not move forward with us, and we really liked their business because we saw how much like high success rate they're going to have with us.
Yeah.
So even Amel sent them a bottle of champagne to their address, and the letter said, pop this bottle when you hit your goal. And we mentioned the goal that they mentioned during the sales call. And then they reach back out to Amel. They're like, we've never had someone do this. Like, you literally sent us something when we gave you nothing. And Amel said, yes, it's because I believe in your business. So things like that, thinking outside the box, even sending handwritten letters, that's what makes all the difference. Because anybody can send a DM.
Right.
Hey, you're looking for marketing. No, bro, I'm not looking for marketing.
Yeah.
Get out of my DM.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so, but if you reach out in a different fashion, they might be open to it.
Absolutely. One of the last thing that I wanted to touch on is I know that you guys are big into like personal development, and you guys are in board of advisors. You do stuff with Eddie Malouf. So obviously investing in yourselves and in mentors and in groups and in different things like that is important to you. How do you think it's impacted so far, and why do you think it's impacted, and what would you recommend people that haven't pursued it to do?
A lot of people expect way too much from a book, a mentor, a YouTube video. I feel like my creation is 1% of everything that like I've read or seen. So it wasn't one book or one YouTube video or one mentor to change me. It was literally the little 1% that I took from everyone. Mm-hmm. So my thing is like, even when you buy a book, only 15% of it is actually valuable information, but they had to build out another 85% of it because they can't sell like a 15-page book.
Right.
So a lot of people are fluff, but like I can take away something from everyone. Like I observe a lot of people, like I look at the way like they walk into a room, the way they dress, the way they like shake hands, the way they like speak, and I pick up on all of those, and then I'm like, that was good. I'm going to use that. I'm going to mold myself into that character. So I think you should try to like learn and read and watch as much as you can and understand that what's one thing that I can take away from this? Honestly, like even after you find out one thing, you don't need to keep on watching or learning or using that thing.
Right.
Like a book, like I'll pick up one thing. I'm like, I got my 2 cents. I'm good.
Yeah.
I won't waste my time reading the rest of the book. So there's a lot of value in it, but I feel like people get discouraged because they're like, it's going to change my life. This book or this mentor is going to change my life. It's not.
Yeah.
You need a lot of 1% from everything.
Yeah. 100%.
I think that also another thing is that I say this all the time: success leaves clues, right? And what may be valuable to you may not be valuable to someone else, and vice versa as well. So a lot of times when I'm at masterminds or groups or whatever, someone talking is rambling on about this one thing that they want to talk about, and I'm like, either I already know this or this is no value to me or whatever. But then they say this one thing that I take and it sticks with me and it changes a lot of things on the back end. And for me, this is what I look for. I look for these 1%. So for me, what I'm talking about today, the audience might look at it and be like, I already know 80% of this.
Yeah.
That 20%, what part of that 20% have you never tried before? What part of that 20% do you think is going to change your life, change your business, right? So the beauty of these masterminds is that these people are usually so well off in their business that to them, what is no value may be insane value to you, and they let these golden nuggets slip. So as long as you're there to catch them when they fall, you'll kill it.
Yeah.
That is true, because I like that as well. I was thinking about that the other day, where a lot of these people, when they're just rambling, they're dropping like true nuggets. They're saying something that people pay them thousands of dollars just to sit with them and wait for them to tell them that same thing. Where, for example, Grant Cardone, when he's just rambling about something, I'm like, I never thought about that. That was good. I'm sure someone paid him $10K just to learn that same thing, but
Yeah.
since he needs to produce content, he has nothing else to talk about other than his experiences, so
Right.
he just gave it to me for free. But a lot of people overlook those things.
Yeah.
So just really like look under the rocks and like try to see what people are truly saying.
And then what about community? How has community been able to shape you, and how has that benefited you?
So you mean the community within those masterminds?
Yeah, like being connected with the people that you've met and actually like growing with them.
100%. I mean, like, you've heard the saying a million times, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? In college, it's your college buddies. In masterminds, it's your mastermind buddies. And your mastermind buddies are usually like heavy hitters, people that are really changing their industry, shaping the future, people that others learn from. So realistically, like for me, the community is probably the biggest perk of these things, is because you get to connect with people that regularly, based on their schedules and based on your own schedule, would not be in the same room at the same time because you're just too busy, right? So I think having that peace and that separation allows you to really bond and connect with people, because talking over a Google Meet or meeting for a lunch or whatever doesn't really give you that deep connection with that person. You really need to sit down and spend maybe 1, 2, 3 days with them and kind of see, is this person a right fit for my circle? Would I like this person to be part of my 5, right? So, and then that helps you shape who you want to be.
I think like life is a game. And when we talk about community, I think about environment. And when it comes to environment, you're just picking the setting and you're picking your character. And I think that just to change your life, you just need to place yourself in that environment or circle that you want to become. And naturally, as humans, we adapt to whatever environment we're placed in. And that's literally the only thing that you need to do as maybe a high school graduate or college person that doesn't know what to do. Move to like environment or mold yourself into an environment that has the things that you want. For example, Tampa was that environment for me. Like I grew up in Jacksonville. There was no community. Like everything was like a 30-minute like drive. Like there wasn't anything happening. So one day I was driving through Tampa. I'm like, this is dope. There's a lot of young people. There's a lot of like nice supercars. I saw Lambos. I saw Ferraris. I didn't see that in Jax. And I'm like, I want to be this person. So even when I couldn't afford to move to downtown, I moved to downtown. And my neighbors were the people driving the Ferraris. My neighbors were the business owners. My gym buddy or whatever were business owners. So over time, I learned the lingo. I get the right connects. I figure out what they're doing. And over time, you become that person, right? So the exotic cars, the business, I feel like it's all because of me being like in the right place and me adapting to my surrounding.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last question, this is something that a conclusion that I've been making in the past few years as I've been in this industry, completely off topic with what we were talking about, but I've noticed that a lot of successful entrepreneurs, like a big percentage of them that have either experienced success quickly or just kind of really get it and are really dedicated to what they're doing, I've noticed that they're coming from immigrant families or coming from different countries. Like even if I look at some of my closest friends, like Eddie Malouf, Luke Belmar, a lot of these people come from foreign countries here to make a better life for themselves, in a way that people that like myself that are born in a country like this, it's not as noticeable, I think, when I look amongst my friends that are entrepreneurs. Why do you guys think that is, and have you noticed that?
I feel like the biggest thing for me is that when it comes to being someone that's foreign, your honor has more importance. Your honor as someone's son, as someone's daughter, as someone's friend, your honor as when you look in the mirror, what do you see? I think it's very powerful. I think that people that were living in a community their entire life where nothing went wrong, you always had electricity, you always had food in the fridge, you know, you always had cold water, hot water in the shower, you know, like I feel like that makes people again soft. But I feel like when you come from a foreign country where to you what is normal is really bad situations, your honor is very important. So when you say something, when something comes out of your mouth, you do it. You know, when you say I'm gonna make $1 million a month, you figure it out. When you say I'm going to buy this car, you figure it out. When you say I want to connect with these people and provide value, you figure it out. Whether they're 1 person away, 10% away. So like at the end of the day, I feel like the honor again, it always comes back to that.
For me personally, I think fear is a bigger motivator than happiness. And a lot of us fear the place we were, right? Where Bosnia was like war torn, right? I was born in 92 when the war started. And then coming here and not having anything and going to the like grocery store and then like not buying what you want because you can't afford it. You buy like the cheaper thing. And that fear like still always like pushes me to this day because I don't want to go back, right? Yeah. So whenever we buy like a supercar, like a Lambo or whatever, like the happiness only lasts like a week or 2 weeks. Like, sure, it's fun, but I think it justifies the fact that like, okay, we're making it, right? We're moving forward. And then every time like I move forward, I feel like I'm stepping away from that fear like even more. So I think a lot of foreigners have a fear of going back to where they were.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Very cool. One of the last things that I always ask people as kind of like a goodbye is we have 3 different types of people in the community. We have people that are just starting off, trying to create their wealth, basically starting from zero. We have people that are trying to basically like preserve their wealth and create more of it. Maybe they're doing like 30 to 100, 200K. So they're building out teams. They're just getting things rocking, their systems rocking. They're not a solopreneur anymore. And then we have the third level of people that are positioning their agency for an exit. And so I always ask the guests, what are your 3 pieces of advice for each of these people, whether you have experience with it or not, what you've heard or what you recommend. So starting with the first one, what do you recommend for people that are just starting their agency off, don't have a single client? Go.
So for people who are just starting their agency, no clients or 1, 2, 3 clients, I would say what you need right now is you need hustle. You need like a fire under your ass. You need to really do a lot of work because your to-do list, no matter what you think, it's infinite, right? It doesn't stop. There is no amount of bullet points that can even fill it. So keep doing, keep moving forward. You want to talk about being a hustler? You want to talk about, I want to own an agency making 10, 20, 30K a month? Earn it. You know what I'm saying? You want to drive the nice cars. You want to do all these like fancy, stupid things. Earn it. Put in the work. Like work the 24 hours. I mean, even to this day, sometimes I pull all-nighters at the office. Why? Because I need to remind myself where I started, why I need to keep doing this, why I need to keep hustling, so my kids never have to do that, right? So my dad can retire, when my mom can retire, right? So I can forge a path for my brothers to simply walk rather than have to crawl, right? So put in the hustle. If you're brand new, like you have an absurd amount of mistakes to do, so go fail forward. And I wish you the best, because as long as you have that mindset, it's always going to work out. For people around the 50 to 120 or 50 to 100 to 200, I would say you're already doing really well, but the game of lessons doesn't stop. Keep pushing for the next goal. I think, like I said before, I'm at that level too, I would say, more or less, because that's almost right there, right? The next level is always more exciting, because at the end of the day, when you make 100K a month, 200K a month, your lifestyle is the same, right? So at what level of the game do you want to play? And it's really just a personal preference, right? Like, I feel like when I hang around right now, my friends that are making 2 million a month, 3 million a month, I'm like, these people get to do some cool ass shit that if I was making 50K a month, I couldn't do with them, right? So it's really just playing the game at that certain level, because at that level, you don't really think about the normal necessities of day-to-day life, like groceries, rent, whatever, right? And as for the exit, I haven't personally gone through an exit myself, so I would take my advice with a grain of salt. I would say start preparing way earlier and automate as much as you can, because I do plan on exiting, and it's something that I'm working very diligently towards, is automating a lot and having the business be not connected to me whatsoever.
Yeah, for me, like, whoever's just starting off, I think the most important thing is to understand why you started, just like Christian was saying, because there's going to be a lot of setbacks. Like, your family's going to say, oh, that's cute, you got a little business, or, you know, you got your first client, you're not generating results, and then they want like their money back, and you're dealing with that. So there's a lot of setbacks where, like, should I even be doing this? Should I just go back to my 9-to-5 job? And understanding that there's like no turning like back, and just understanding that you have to like push through it will allow you to actually achieve it. Because at the end of the day, I keep on saying like shoot the shots, but you just need a few clients. And then after you find like, because sure, the first 2 clients maybe you don't like deliver results, but maybe the third one, maybe the fourth one, and then you take that and then you approach their competitors, and then you build on top of that, which will lead you to the second stage of making some money, and then scaling that, really hitting the 100 or 200K a month, where at that point, focus on the operations. A lot of times it's hard to scale at that level and still hold your vision amongst your team. So you go from truly just hustling to being like a true business owner. And at that point, you have to change as a person, and you have to learn on how to like work people. Like, you have to learn psychology, and you have to really figure out, how do I like put the right people in place where I can step away from the business? Everyone talks about it, like where it's like, if I step away, will the business still operate? And until that happens, you didn't create a real business. When you get to that point where you can step away, that's when you can exit. Because anything before that, you can't exit, because you are the company. Even though you might have 20 people, if you can't step away without the company operating, you can't exit. When you do exit, I think it's important as humans to go back to the original like values that you had. Like, what is your bigger purpose? And then really like reinvesting into the community and reinvesting into the people around you. Because then you have capital, and then you can truly change lives. Because at the end of the day, I think we all want to change lives, and you can't change lives while you're broke. Mm-hmm. You have like 30 million, you have 40 million, whatever you like exit it for, give back to the community, you know? And obviously you still need to reinvest that so you can still afford to live. You can't give everything back to the community, but those are like my 3 like stages when it comes to like starting to exiting a business.
Awesome.
Hell
Love
yeah,
it,
bro.
guys.
Good shit, dude.
Well, really appreciate you guys coming out today, taking the time. Obviously, you guys busy with your business and stuff, so I appreciate you taking the time to come out and then give to this community that's trying to accomplish the same thing that you guys have. So I really appreciate you guys' time.
Zach,
Thanks
thank
for
you so
having
much,
us,
man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Once again, guys, this is the agency domain. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Once again, we always try to bring the best guests that we possibly can in every single niche, every single walk of life, having gone through every single process just to make sure that you guys have the best information possible. I do not know everything. I am very good at what I do, but I bring in people with different perspectives, just as Christian was saying, that might resonate with you differently, that might give you a special piece of insight and information into the agency world. And so I hope this one was valuable, just as I hope that every single session is valuable for you. This is a community that you can join if you're looking for the correct network of agency owners trying to grow, whether you are beginning, trying to get past that 100, 200K mark, or whether you are trying to exit your agency. This is the community for you where we are bringing the right information for you to be able to do that. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Once again, many of you will watch, but very few of you will actually listen.